Hi everyone, welcome to this video. My name is T if you're new here, and if being a baddie was a crime, I think I'd be safe. I think I would be a good law-abiding citizen because child. So there's a reality show out right now. It gathers a group of black women who are trying to make money together, and along the way, personalities clash. In watching, you'll also discover that although these women are going on missions that require teamwork, this is not treated as a collective effort. Sisterhood, what the hell is that? This is a competition, a motherfucking battle. And yeah, these women are willing to fight with everything they got. Sometimes with words, mostly with fists. Now some may say, wait a minute. You mean to tell me that in big 2023, there are women still getting on TV, screaming at each other and lumping each other up for money? Money. The same thing that you can make from doing literally anything these days. Like, girl, if you don't go start a podcast or sell some pictures of your toes online and sit down. But oh no, my dear, on the contraire, money is the least valuable thing that these women are in pursuit of. If they succeed, victory awaits them with class mobility, domination of their social hierarchies, liberties to confront their problems with violence of varying degrees and limited consequence, immunity from the courts of wokeness and respectability politics, boundless exhibitions of ego, vanity, and sexuality that will ultimately be idolized by a weekly audience of several million, and eventually solidified and commodified by a culture unquantifiable. Oh, I'm sad. I'm watching. Baby, this is the bag. This is Zeus Network. This is Baddies West.
Get you there. Don't worry about how we get in there. Cheers.
Yup. Get it, Tommy!
I'm a bad bitch about my money. We finna go get this bag.
You gotta get your lick back.
I gotta let her know who I am now because I don't like that shit.
I was having a whole other conversation while y'all were live.
Come on, stunner girl! I'ma show you how to stop, bitch!
Chapter 1, A Baddie is Born. We are having fun today. Look at me. Honestly, would you believe that I used to dress like this? Obviously not every day, but when I was like 19, 20, I would totally look at a fit like this and be like, I should wear that to my birthday dinner. If today's video offers you nothing else, please just try to have fun. And remember that the baddie phenomenon is an active one, meaning it's still happening as we speak. Anything can change at any time, including the thoughts and theories that I share today. And the only way for us to discuss this critically while maintaining respect, especially for those of us who are outsiders and guests in this culture, is to look our ignorance in the face, marry it with our curiosity, proceed with caution, and just try to have fun. Let's stay playful together. So what is the definition of a baddie? Based on my own personal experience combined with the limited search results I was able to find on Beyonce's internet, a contemporary baddie can be defined as a woman who meets the every woman aesthetic. More often than not, her body conforms to the black male gaze. So full bust, slim waist, wide hips, and as far as the backside goes, let's just say she got some nice cushion to sit on. Her face, however, is ambiguous. While she may look to be of a particular race foundationally, it's usually the nose, mouth, and eyes where exotic appeal is searched for when identifying a baddie. Now, we have talked about featureism in black women before, and look, I know I pushed a couple buttons with that video, and I don't want to disrupt your recovery. So, I'm not going to get too deep into it, but for a brief recap, as a means to release a black woman from the purgatory of being considered average, or worse yet, basic, society, or even the woman herself, will signify her beauty by highlighting things like the slant of her eyes, as slanted eyes, while they do occur in the black community, are more commonly associated with features of the Asian community. Or another example, emphasis will be placed on the slimness of her nose or the straightness of her hair if we want to get into texturism. All of this is meant to distance her from Afrocentric commonalities, and that distance, again, is meant to signify beauty. And that's essentially the starter kit to looking like a baddie: voluptuous body and exotic facial features. Of course, there are exceptions. Shout out to Biggie, shout out to Rolly. I'll talk about how I felt about them on the show in a bit, but them being able to be on that show looking as beautifully unambiguous as they look, especially when sat next to, you know, the light skin and the light eyes and the 20-inch waist. I know it's not easy. It takes a lot of confidence, and they did the damn thing. I was just rewatching this video and I just had to pop in real quick, and I don't feel like getting out the green screen, so let's just pretend like we're on FaceTime. Yeah. Bitch! So you know how I said this is an ongoing phenomenon, right? And anything that I say can change at any time. Well, now I gotta eat my words because, and you didn't hear this from me, but Rolly on Instagram Live getting lipo wide awake. And get this, the practice where she got her surgery and plans to get like 4 more is under public scrutiny for alleged negligence and malpractice. What's going on? You know, surgery like this is always risky, but why are we choosing this risk level, and what's the urgency? And you know, I was just about to say that Rolly is a great example of how the baddie aesthetic is being diversified. I was just about to agree with the femininity girlies, like, oh yeah, being a baddie is less about what you look like and more about how you carry yourself, aka how you perform in the classist hyper-capitalist public arena. Yeah, it's not about this, it's about a vibe, a grandeur. It's not a specific look, except it is, and extremely so. Now in chapter 2, when I start talking more about the court of wokeness, I'll expand on my thought that the infamy of a baddie's reputation is defiance. Defying the white gaze, defying the politics of respectability, defying modesty, defying fear. But the rules that exist within the borders of this culture, especially when it comes to appearance, there's not that same freedom, like at all. If you go against that code of law, you are done. You are done for, or at least you will not succeed in the same way that a person who meets the look will. And it makes me wonder, because the baddie's experience is like really marketed as like, you know, a woman who just gets to do what she wants on her terms. She gets up and go, you know what I'm saying? So is the baddie experience truly this carefree, unrestricted utopia as it's painted to be? Or similar to the thoughts that I have about the culture of female rap, are women still being boxed in, but this box got rhinestones on it? The fascination of the baddie's mere existence on a global scale is fairly new, and I think that can be traced back to a handful of trailblazers. Today's spotlight will be placed on the incomparable, the one and only Miss Amber Rose.
When Amber Rose debuted around 8, 9, 10, and she jumped out the face with Kanye West looking like that after the, I Know What Them Girls Like video, I believe. Yeah, I was gagging. I remember getting on my little, you know, desktop and Google searches, saving all the images that I could find of her, all the street pics. And I specifically remember she didn't speak. We did not hear her talk at all. And that was such a big draw to her because I'm like, who is she? Who is this otherworldly? Y'all have to understand, like, the only person that we had that was like giving us a little bit of that ethereal, like otherworldly androgyny was Cassie. Cassie dabbled in that with the half-shaved head and all that. We got this full, like, buzzed, blonde, like, it was earth-shattering. Kanye really, like, Kanye's a puppet master. He be playing with the Barbies, but I'm just like, he plays with the best Barbies. Then, because you know I was on it, I loved, like, researching the girls. She did lip service with Angela Yee, and when I heard her voice, I was like, this is I was not expecting that. And when we heard her, we heard the accent and everything. I feel like that gave her a lot of power because it really endeared a lot of other women to her. They're like, oh, she's like us, yeah. Because before it was like, who is she? Is she this Swedish model? We had no idea who this, y'all don't understand, we had no idea who she was. Like, she ushered in this era of girls looking like that, dressing like that, being like bodacious and this. Before that, the archetype did not exist. She is that girl. But hearing her endeared her to the people, and I feel like it gave a lot of power to her, but it also took her down from that like pedestal. Go Amber.
So let's pick up where Malik left off. Amber Rose finally speaks, and the mystique that surrounds her begins to evaporate. History will teach us that when it comes to women who are primarily known for their sex appeal, the less they speak, the more likely they are to maintain public favor. And I think that's because, well, of course she's able to maintain a sense of mystery, but also it allows her captivated audience to run with whatever narrative they can imagine. So everyone is satisfied. But unfortunately, in this dynamic, her silence is her safe house. And we're gonna talk about this more when we get into Krishan, because you know we gotta get into Krishan, right? You know we do. But it's fucked up. But opening up to the public surprisingly works in Amber's favor because she was relatable to a demographic that at that point in time was still mostly in the margins. Once Amber spoke, she did not hesitate to let us know that she is a half black woman. Or did she let us know? I feel like I heard something somewhere where we had to like really weasel that out of her. Whatever, we know now that she is like some form of a black woman, right? From Philly, we heard the Philly accent, who used to be a stripper starting at age 15. That's quite the description. And even if you can't deduce who she is from that list, you can make some pretty strong assumptions about who she is not. She is not someone who spent her entire life sheltered. She very likely did not grow up with a whole bunch of financial freedom. She knows how to commodify her sex appeal. She knows how to hustle. And she probably knows how to tussle. The baddie was an archetype that, again, was in the margins. That's like the best way I can put it. There was a point in time not very long ago that the word baddie didn't even exist. Like there wasn't even a word for this archetype. This woman has been a fictional character in movies and TV. She's been a video vixen. She's been like this shadowed fantasy, like the mystical cousin of the ebony porn star. Everybody knows about her. Everybody knows exactly where to find her, but they want to do so in the shadows, you know, in their incognito web browser, not at all in the global mainstream. So back to Amber. Once she was able to detach herself from Kanye's image, which wasn't all that difficult because she's an alluring person, she was able to achieve her own level of celebrity. This was incredible. And still, after all these years and all this possibility for her to be overtaken by Kanye's shadow, or the shadow of any of her rapper boyfriends thereafter, we still know who Amber Rose is, all by herself. And I truly believe that is mostly because of how effectively she was able to endear women and femmes with backgrounds, body types, fashion senses, and attitudes similar to hers. With that platform, she was able to create her own businesses. She became the face of brands. She was able to branch out into music and other creative outlets, and ultimately just create her own world in which she was celebrated and paid just for being her. Not some Hollywood reformed, white America appeasing version of her, but just a more mature and evolved version of that same Philly girl who came from hard times. This is how a baddie is born. Chapter 2. Politics of the pursuit. Now, Amber wasn't the only one. In the 2010s, we were also seeing women like Blac Chyna, Miracle Watts, Bernice Burgos, women with a similar look, similar background, creating an entirely new lane where being a walking baddie fantasy was all you needed, at least to get started. As I briefly mentioned, the career paths of Amber Rose and even Blac Chyna will teach us that the true baddie is always in pursuit of the next business venture, aka the bag. So the ultimate baddie continues to work her way up into popularity and fame through the branches of music, sometimes through businesses, and more popularly through appearing on reality TV shows. And this show, Baddies, it gathers women from several of these different branches. You have the ex-strippers, business owners, rappers, you got the King magazine models, you got women from other reality shows, you got club promoters. And the Zeus Network really cashed out on this because they realized that if an audience of followers will eventually mature into a market of consumers, Whether that's people buying from a baddie's business, streaming her music, or just showing up to the club events that she's hosting, all off the strength of fascination and relatability, that same audience would probably also love to see the means of production. So with Baddies, why not broadcast the bag chasing? And better yet, let's continuously move the goalposts. Let's make this a moving target. So the target is never hit. The pursuit is never finished. The bag is never got. And I gotta say, this is one of the only things about the show that just really annoyed the heck out of me. Disorder drives me nuts, and it's really been this way since I was a kid. So whenever I'm watching a show, right, and there is a goal, a very achievable goal, mind you, and that goal is somehow sabotaged by preventable human error. So on Baddies, the goal is to get the bag, right? And the bag is right there, right within reach. The contracts are signed. The club appearances are secured. The ladies are in the city. The bus is parked outside. Victory is so close within reach, they could literally grab it at any point if that was the actual goal of the show. We know it's not. We know that's not the actual goal. But I do also believe that this is kind of brilliant. It is kind of genius because Zeus's positioning of the bag within this show's concept is very resemblant of the bag's position in real life, like in the real world outside of the show, in baddie culture at least. So, all right, answer me this. Has there ever been a baddie who has retired? I mean, truly retired, as in she has achieved such financial security that she does not need to, nor does she have any interest in releasing another song, selling any more bundles, being another brand ambassador, designing another outfit, appearing on another show? Is there one? Because all the baddies I can think of, and I don't just mean like in the show, I mean even if we want to expand it to baddie culture and female rap, or baddie hairstylists, baddie MUAs, I'm talking people who are really up there in the industry, I can't think of a single person that has really been like, okay, you know, I chased the bag, I actually caught that motherfucker, and I am gonna sit down now. Thank you everyone for following along on this journey. No, I can't think of one. I don't think there is one. And I'm curious as to why haven't we seen a baddie with a truly satiated relationship with her money and fame? And I have a couple guesses, and of course I want community feedback on this. But is it because of poverty trauma? And I know this is tricky territory, but I am suggesting that because, all right, authentic baddies, they often preach about how they've emerged from very harsh environments. And many of them will share accounts of how they basically had to work themselves to the bone to escape the financial hardship they once knew. So is it the fear of returning to that why nothing ever seems to be quite enough? Or is it because there's a certain look of classism to uphold, even if you can't really afford it? Because it doesn't matter if you have all the money and all the fame in the world, if the community and culture that receives you can't tell that you have all the money and fame in the world. And then my follow-up question would be, is the facade of wealth, or the commitment to upkeeping the facade of wealth, is that a byproduct of poverty trauma, or is the commitment to maintaining it what's truly holding people back from financial freedom? Oh my gosh, not me sounding like not financial freedom. It's giving hashtag alpha male. Let me chill before I end up on the wrong side of YouTube. No, but for real, is it either? Is it both? Is it neither, but it's something else? Let me know. I am very curious. Either way, this show encapsulates that. Baddies West, and honestly all of the baddies, I've just mainly only watched Baddies West, it encapsulates that the bag is an ongoing saga. It's never finished. It's never caught. That is why it's called Getting To, not got. not had, getting to the bag. And in this show, there will always be an obstacle. There's always gonna be a delay. There's always gonna be a reason why they can't all show up to the club so they can't get paid. Or if they do show up to the club, then Natalie taking too long to pay them. Or if she does actually sit them down to pay them, now they gotta argue about who deserves the most pay, who's more important, who's a special guest to the performance. Everybody gotta be the top dog. Everyone has to be the alpha. Let's make the money, the bag, contingent on their appearance. And let's make their appearance contingent on whether or not they get along. But these are obviously very strong-willed women, so let's make whether or not they get along contingent on friendship dynamics. Friendship dynamics that no one wants to admit they're a part of. Even though they are a group, they are a team. Everyone wants to be a lone wolf. No one wants to build friendships or connections. No one at least wants to admit that they're trying to build friendships or connections, because in this game, there is no loyalty. There is no love. And for the ones who make the mistake of thinking that there is, well, we saw what happened with Biggie and Tommy.
All the girls are saying how you're not my real friend, how I'm backed up behind you.
Sis, they saying that you're not really my friend. And I said, bitch, believe them.
Also, we damn sure saw what happened with Natalie and Scotty.
Wait, I'm blinded by, bitch, you're my friend. What the fuck is you attacking me for?
Natalie and Scotty is a great example of a friendship that simply cannot thrive, not just because of the competitive environment that they're in, but because of the power dynamic. Natalie is the boss. But ain't this supposed to be a group of boss-ass bitches who don't take instruction or authority from nobody? So how does this work when one of the cast members holds everyone else's fate in her hands? It doesn't work. It doesn't. That's why it's a hit freaking show. What an excellent concept, honestly, and who better to create it than Miss Natalie Nunn herself? Honestly, you can say what you want about Natalie, but all of the things that people claim to hate about her public image, you know, that she hits below the belt, that she's deceitful, that she's disingenuous, okay, that is the reason why this show exists. Remember earlier I mentioned that to be a true baddie, you gotta have roots in the culture? Natalie don't got that, yet somehow she's still here. If you watch Natalie's evolution on reality TV, you will quickly learn that she is not true to this. She is very much new to this.
I'm Natalie. I'm from Pleasanton, California, and I'm 24 years old. I'm a socialite. If I logged into my Facebook right now, and I had 3,000 inbox messages.
Bring her the fuck outside. I'm not playing with you, my nigga. I swear to God, on my motherfucking life, bro.
What these women stand for and represent in real life, Natalie Nunn is cosplaying at best. But she is so business-minded that she is able to see the value in it in a way that we have not seen a real baddie execute before. And I'm not saying that real baddies are incapable, it's just Natalie got to it first. This is a loose assumption, but that might be because where we are in the Baddies evolution, things like professionalism and being business-minded, those are helpful qualities to have, but it does not come before a baddie defending herself against disrespect or dishonor. I find it fascinating that, again, through my personal observations with a focus specifically on this show, and through hearing accounts from actual baddies, shout out to everyone who swiped up on my Instagram story. Thank you so much for that. Baddies have such strong endurance and willpower. It's nuts. It's impressive, but then you hear the life story and it's like, you went through what? Wow. They are easily adaptable. They can acclimate to almost any environment in order to survive, and they take it all on the chin. But let somebody call them out their name. Oh my, let even the slightest bit of shade be thrown in their direction? Oh no, ain't no letting that go. Somebody gotta answer for that. In the very last episode, it was like the Twilight Zone, seeing how tightly these women held on to small problems that started weeks ago. So we got Biggie, still mad at Stunna after all these weeks, though I think Biggie was mostly hurt because her friends, or who she thought were her friends, they wouldn't go against Stunna with her. I think her feelings were just hurt about that. Okay, then we got Tommy still wanting to fight Stunna because Stunna swung on her in the very first episode, again, weeks ago. Then we got Stunna, who only swung on Tommy because of what happened months ago at the auditions, which eventually snowballed into so many people wanting to fight Stunna, but Stunna standing up to the challenge every single time. Oh my gosh, the tenacity on this woman. She don't get tired. Just like she says in her song, line it up. It doesn't matter how the fight's going or how long it's been since the beef started. She just got that dog in her. She will fight every last person in the vicinity just to show she ain't no punk. I gotta respect that. Okay, after giving it some thought and watching part 2 of the reunion, I don't know if I respect it or if I'm just thrilled by it. So, okay, I respect the principle. I respect the principle of defending yourself and defending your honor. But I don't respect doing so in a way that puts your body or another person's body in harm's way, especially if the aftermath of that still does not result in any form of solution. But I am thrilled by female rage. Oh, I was watching that reunion and I just could not hold back the smirk that was spreading across my face. Those girls were being bad. They were being so bad. And y'all know I support women's rights. I do. Okay, all right? It's the whole point of this fucking channel. But I love me some women's wrongs. Women's wrongs, women's terribles, women's fucking awfuls. I love it. And yes, I know that that's not good. I know. But if I'm gonna tell y'all how I feel about the show, then I'm gonna be honest. The fights were the best part. So here's how Zeus does this. They spend the entire season edging you. So they'll give you like a moderately good fight in the beginning. They'll sprinkle in a little bit of chaos throughout the middle. Then the finale, they'll give you like some fights. And then the reunion, okay, so part 1, they'll bring you back down, right? And edge you some more until like the last 5 minutes of the first part of the reunion. But when you get to part 2 of the reunion, everybody got busy. Everybody got busy except for Lo. So, you know, because we're on FaceTime and the messiness that I have right now doesn't really count because we're only on the phone, I am going to share my 1-sentence summary, just one, of every woman's performance at the reunion. Okay, let's go. So, Lo, I love that yellow, your titties were sitting, and I didn't even notice that your dress had a collar. DJ Sky, I'm not sure where this energy came from. Okay, on to Scotty. I still don't think you're a fighter. All right, now we're getting good. Natalie, you handled what you started. Tommy, but you made sure shit was fucking finished. All I did was watch. Don't get mad at me, all I did was watch. Kat, we understand that you've matured, semicolon. This just isn't the show where people will care. Biggie, I was rooting for you, semicolon. We were all rooting for you. Rolly, you connected with proper pressure. And finally, last but not least, Miss Stunna Girl, I've written, eating that punch did not seem easy, comma, but you stood on your 10. Hashtag got that dog in her. Hashtag you definitely got active. So Natalie, I still hold the assumption that she is not as true to baddie culture as she wants us to believe. But I do also wonder if she's been submerged in this culture for so long that she's truly adopted it because she's learned to love it. Like, it's not an act anymore. She has truly found a home in this culture because it benefits her way more than whatever that other stuff was. Of course, clout-wise, it benefits her. Money-wise, it benefits her. But also, one of the most appealing things about baddie culture is that respectability politics has no place. It is not the slightest concern. And for Black women, the freedom that can come with that. Respectability politics and Black women. Okay, here we go. So I recognize the irony in that although I am very critical of the system, it is one that benefits me immensely. And because I do this shit so well, you know, the sit up straight, use the fancy words, throw out some complex analyses on a bitch ass. Because I adhere to this respectability shit so well, that's probably the reason why you're watching me right now. Don't front. Probably why you think my words are credible. If you think, you know, haters in the building, always. And you watching me right now is the difference between me living this creative, low labor, but still very well paid, free ass lifestyle, and me being stuck in a shared cubicle, losing pieces of my soul to corporate America. Respectability is what helps me escape that fate. And an ocean's worth of purified water would not make that an easier pill to swallow. Now, there's no need for me to get into the history of the politics of respectability, though I already have over on patreon.com/TinaWire if you want to check that out. But Black women in one way or another are actively told that if we don't adhere to it, the absolute worst will happen to us. It is literally do or die. You can't be too much of anything. We can't be too loud, too big, too sexual, too funny, too aggressive. But on a show like Baddies, here these women are being exactly that. And they're making real money, achieving real fame, not in spite of these things, but directly because of them. I don't mind this. I don't, because I feel like every single Black woman, even if it's just for a short season in her life, she deserves to feel like there is space for her in this world. We all deserve a break from feeling like anomalies who exist in spite of humanity's natural order. We all deserve to know a sense of belonging. So for that reason, I don't hate it. It's not for me, but I don't hate it. And to double down, I don't view reality TV in general as a smear on the legacy of Black people. Am I proud of all behavior that happens on reality TV? Hell no. But are we gonna pretend like those people don't exist in real life? Some of them in our own families, our own relationships, in our own mirrors. Are we gonna pretend like we don't see that? Just because it makes white people cringe? No thanks. Okay, so obviously between the sit down video and these FaceTime calls, I have been back and forth, right? So it's like, which one is it? Do you like the show or not? And the truth is, I don't know. I'm really of two minds with it. So I can sit on my high horse and list out all the different ways this show is absurd, because there are many. But I can also say how it's funny. And then I can also say how it's annoying. And then I can also say how it's thrilling. So it's like, I don't know. I think it all depends on what you personally are watching for and how deeply you're willing to look into it. So like for someone like me who, because I am painfully addicted to looking too deep into things, I think I gotta say no. I don't like it, but I do. It's a very stimulating production. Like obviously I'm a very colorful person. So with all the colors and the chaos and the rhinestones and the sunglasses and the ass and the titties, I like it. But in the broader sense, this show is dangerous. I don't like how they glamorize the idea of, and not to dehumanize these women, but just for analogy's sake, like putting beta fish in a tank together. You know what beta fish will do when they're in a tank together, but the tank is bedazzled. And so we just supposed to be like, oh, huh? They put these women in these spaces together to rip each other to shreds, but they won't be honest about it. Zeus is not, like, they're not upfront about it, and I wonder why not? Is it the shred of integrity that they're still trying to hold on to? Are there some legal implications that they can't just outright say, hey, our alleged objective is to agitate, encourage, and incite violence amongst these women? Because that's what the show is about. Allegedly, that's the main attraction of it. So why can't we just admit that? I don't know if I would respect Zeus more if they would admit that, but I definitely don't respect them because they won't admit that. Let's put it that way. So I guess the final answer is no. Like, while I can find entertainment in some bits of it, I don't respect it, and for that reason, gotta go. Zeus does not communicate to us that these women's safety is a top priority. Violence is a main attraction of the show. Like, not the drama, not the shade throwing, not the reading, not violence. So it is to their financial gain to encourage violence, even if it's passively, whether that's violence amongst each other or the way they got them in these venues packed ear to ear, ass to pussy, all while an invisible, deadly respiratory virus is still circulating in the air, or the way that in those same clubs, gunshots be ringing out. Gunshots? And tear gas. Violence is expected, especially when you put a group of, again, strong-willed women together with different personalities. Violence is expected, but it damn sure ain't prevented. And eventually, I believe that trickles all the way down to Zeus's lack of interference with and exploitation of violence in these women's interpersonal lives. All right. I am worried about the media's intentions with Krishan Rock.
Hey, what's up? It's the big baby. You know, I'm back again. I don't know why I'm back again, but we gonna see what's back again.
Where's everybody? Beat her ass. Beat that bitch ass. Come here, bitch. Come here, bro.
Coming up in part 2. We don't have to call Blueface gay because he is abusing and manipulating his girlfriend. It's okay to just call him a bitch. Also in October, Krishan leaks a sex tape of the two. She did her thing, I will say that. Yes, I did watch. It was my journalistic duty. The enterprise of Black love, as we know it, propagandizes a singular image of perfect, financially blossoming, generational wealth producing, all forgiving, all understanding partnership. And it needs to stop. Because it's a lie. You're lying. Okay, as far as the future of Baddies goes, I think we'll eventually get to a place where people will start cosplaying the lifestyle, especially now that everyone has peeped how lucrative it is. You know, as we discussed, Natalie Nunn and the Zeus Network, they already recognize how profitable all of this is. So I don't doubt for a second that there are young people, young girls out there who are watching this and really studying the formula and studying how to make this a career without having to live the life and have the background and have the roots. And it's not going to be all that hard to study and duplicate the formula, honestly. When I was watching the part 2 of the reunion last night, I was thinking to myself, like, damn, Tommy especially, I think Tommy will be a blueprint. This in the same way that someone like Tiffany Pollard, New York, or Nene Leakes is a blueprint, like how they give so much that you can study. I think Tommy will actually be considered that because she is just so too cool for school. And that's how I've seen her ever since I was introduced to her years ago on Love and Hip Hop. She is just too cool for fucking school. Even when she's arguing, she gotta, she gotta put some steez on it. She's just a cool girl, just a fucking cool girl. But yeah, that's just how lucrative the spectacle is. I guess I very much used to be one of those people who would say, like, you know, this is silly. This is silly. Not only that people would want to watch this, but that people would want to sit around and talk about this stuff. And I had fun. A realization that I've come to as I've let go of my superiority complex, not just with this show, but with reality TV in general, is that this is humanity. This is real fucking life. You know, obviously you got to put it through the engine of reality TV, and that kind of takes away some of the genuine aspects of it. But like, this is happening. A large group of people enjoy this. A large group of Black women enjoy this and find relatability in this. And I cannot dedicate this work to studying and celebrating Black women in their fullness and then just completely gloss over this phenomenon. Whether or not shows like this tickle your personal fancy isn't really the point. I think the greater point is that the last season of this show, Natalie said, had a viewership of over 50 plus million. 50 plus million? Like impressions on humanity in this lifetime? On this here earth? Like, what? That's nuts. Through this analysis, I've concluded that this show, possibly even all reality TV, deserves more respect than it's given, even if just for the impact alone. And with all that, let me go ahead and lay it to rest. It was nice to catch up, and talk to you later. Thank you all so much for watching, especially if you made it all the way to the end of the video. I am ready to take all this shit off. Oh my gosh. Let me tell you how I'm literally about to faint. Let me tell you. Okay. So clearly I have on a wig. So I have on a wig cap. I have on a wig. Then I have a wig cap on top of the wig so that it wasn't too puffy when I put on the do-rag. The brain has on a waist trainer right now. My skull has on a waist trainer. That's what it feels like. This is heavy. This right here, this is a whole ass chain. Like, it's a chain that you put on your pants, because I don't have a real chain. Oh, everything, the lashes, everything. I'm so heavy. I'm so heavy. But one thing I am happy to keep are these nails. These are kind of heavy too, but I'm loving them. I didn't only get them done for the video, but you know, it all worked out. The only thing is, y'all see how long these nails are, right? And y'all know that I'm a homosexual. When I tell y'all I didn't realize until it was too late. No, listen, because I picked out the inspo pic. I'm like looking at it on the way to the nail tech. I'm so excited. We he-heing and ha-haing all throughout the appointment. It was not until after she put on the cuticle oil, after I done posed for her Instagram, that I looked down and I said, oh my God. What have I done? I nearly fell to my knees right there in the shop. I was like, but it's all good. I'll keep them on for like a good 2-3 weeks and then, cause no ma'am. I honestly don't know how I ever used to survive with nails longer than this. Like, what? Everything is an obstacle. Be sure to leave your thoughts and your comments down below. Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down, however you're feeling today, and subscribe for more content. I'll catch you in the next video. Bye-bye.